Mastermind with me, John Humphrys. In the spotlight tonight are Anna Britton, a magazine editor whose specialist subject is Gregory Peck. Matthew Hooton, a postdoctoral researcher who's answering questions on Pokémon. Margaret Scott Johnson, a freelance translator. Her subject is the Canterbury Tales. And Stephen Connor, an HR manager. His subject, the Liverpool music scene of the 1970s and 80s. Four contenders, as usual, but each of them has already cleared the first hurdle in their quest to become Mastermind champion. They're into the semi-finals. But the pressure is as great as ever, and maybe even greater. The rules are the same, of course, 2 minutes for the specialist subject, 2.5 minutes for general knowledge. So let's get on with it and ask our first contender to join us, please. And your name is?
Anna Britton.
Your occupation?
Magazine editor.
And your chosen subject?
Gregory Peck.
Gregory Peck in 2 minutes. Here we go. Peck won a Best Actor Oscar for his performance in the 1962 film adaptation of the Harper Lee novel To Kill a Mockingbird. Which character did he play?
Atticus Finch.
Yes. What's the occupation of Joe Bradley, Peck's character in the 1953 romantic comedy Roman Holiday?
Reporter.
Is correct. In partnership with a group of fellow actors that included Mel Ferrer and Dorothy Maguire, Peck co-founded a theatre company in California in 1947. What's its name?
La Jolla Playhouse.
Yes. In the 1959 film Pork Chop Hill, Peck plays Lieutenant Joe Clemens. The film is set during which 20th century conflict?
Korea.
Yeah. In 1947, Peck was one of a group of Hollywood stars, including Katharine Hepburn and Ava Gardner, who joined a committee opposed to the hearings of the House Committee on Un-American Activities. What was the name of this committee?
Pass.
In a hugely successful 1976 film, his first in 3 years, Peck took a leading role that had originally been offered to Charlton Heston. Which film?
The Omen.
Yep. Peck almost drowned while he was performing his own stunts for a film in 1954. He's reported to have said that he thought he was going to die tied to the back of a rubber whale in the middle of the Irish Sea. Which film?
Moby Dick.
Yep. What was the name of the production company set up by Peck in the 50s in partnership with the screenwriter Cy Bartlett? It was wound up after it had produced Pork Chop Hill and Cape Fear.
Melville Productions.
Yep. Peck met his second wife, a French reporter, while he was working in Europe, and they were married on the day after his divorce was finalised in December 55. What was his second wife's name?
Veronique Pisani.
Yep. While he was on the set of a 1958 Western, Peck fell out with the director, William Wyler, and triggered a feud that lasted for several years. Which Western were they filming?
Pass.
What's the name of the impulsive youngster who makes the fatal mistake of picking a fight with Jimmy Ringo, the title character played by Peck in the opening scene of The Gunfighter?
Pass.
Peck said that his main reason for taking the role of Dr. Joseph Mengele in the 1978 film The Boys from Brazil was because it offered the opportunity to work with an actor he'd known since the early 1950s. Which actor?
Laurence Olivier.
Is correct. You had 3 passes, Anna. The name of that impulsive youngster who made the mistake of picking a fight with Jimmy Ringo was Eddie. The Big Country was the film over which Peck and Wyler fell out. And the committee they set up was the Committee for the First Amendment. You have scored 9 points. And our next contender, please. And your name is?
Matthew Hooton.
Your occupation?
Postdoctoral researcher.
And your chosen subject?
Pokémon.
Pokémon. 2 minutes. In the first episode of the television series, a boy leaves his home village of Pallet Town on his 10th birthday to achieve his ambition to become a Pokémon master. What's his full name?
Ash Ketchum.
Yep. In the 2019 live-action film Pokémon Detective Pikachu, the voice of Pikachu is provided by which actor?
Pass.
Pokémon Go, an augmented reality game in which players can catch virtual Pokémon on their mobile devices, was developed by an American software company which originated as a startup within Google. Which company?
Pass.
What's the name of the Veilstone City gym leader who appears in Pokémon Diamond and Pearl? In the television series, she refuses to do battle with Ash because her confidence has been shaken after a defeat by Paul.
Fantina.
Maylene. In a 2016 film, a Pokémon crashes down from the sky in a cloud of dust and is bound to Ash Ketchum by a mysterious force. Which Pokémon?
Diglett.
Volcanion. Which of the original 151 Pokémon characterized in the Pokédex as a wild duck is invariably seen carrying a plant stalk? It's said to fight other Pokémon for stalks.
Farfetch'd.
Yes, in the official Pokémon trading card game Roaring Skies, Furious Fists and Primal Clash are expansions to which series of cards?
Fossil.
XY. Which poison-type Pokémon that evolves from Gulpin spurts toxic fluid from its paws when it spots prey? Once the prey is weakened, the Pokémon gulps it down whole in its cavernous mouth.
Swallowed.
Yeah. Which renowned scientist is the leader of the villainous Team Flare based in the Kalos region?
Dunno.
Take that as a pass. On the official website for the Sun and Moon installments in the main video game series, it said that one particular Pokémon is dreadfully lonely and it thought it would be able to make friends with humans if only it looked like Pikachu. Which Pokémon?
Mr. Mime.
Mimikyu. Updated editions of the games Pokémon Sapphire and Pokémon Ruby were released for the Nintendo 3DS in 2014 with an extra word added to the titles of each of the two games. What two words were added?
Alpha and Omega.
Alpha and Omega. Yes, that is true. 3 passes. Matthew. Lysandra was the renowned scientist in the villainous Team Flare. Niantic was the American software company. And Ryan Reynolds was the voice of Pikachu. You scored 4 points.
Ooh.
And our next contender, please. And your name is?
Marga Scott Johnson,
Your occupation?
freelance translator.
And your chosen subject?
The Canterbury Tales.
In 2 minutes, starting now, the pilgrims on their way to Canterbury draw lots to decide who will tell the first tale. As a result, who's the first one to tell a tale?
The Knight.
Yep. In the general prologue, the miller plays a musical instrument, and therewithal he brought us out of town. What instrument does he play?
Bagpipes.
Yep. In the prologue to his tale, the pardoner says, I preach against that same vice which that I use, and that is?
Avarice.
Yes. A well-known medieval French poem by Guillaume de Lorry and Jean de Meun influenced Chaucer's writing, particularly the Pardoner's Tale and the Wife of Bath's Tale. It's also mentioned in the Merchant's Tale. Which poem?
Roman de la Rose.
Yes. The Dun's Priest's Tale features a cockerel named Chanticleer who has 7 hens in his governance. Chanticleer has a favourite who is said to hold his heart. What's her name?
Berthelot.
Yes. The pilgrims all enjoy the miller's tale about a carpenter who's deceived, with one exception. Which pilgrim takes offence because he is himself a carpenter?
The Reeve.
Yes. In The Wife of Bath's Tale, a man has a pair of ass's ears growing under his hair, which he hides and swears his wife to secrecy. Who is he?
Midas.
Yep. In his tale, the nun's priest says that a real-life figure, one of the leaders of the Peasants' Revolt of 1381 and his men, made never shouts half so shrill as the pursuers of the fox that attacked the cockerel Chanticleer. Who was the real-life figure?
Jack Straw.
Yeah. In the general prologue, the Franklin's beard is compared to a flower. White was his beard, as is the...
Lily.
Daisy. In the tale of Sir Topas, when the knight sets out to find an elf queen and make her his lover, he encounters a giant, a perilous man, who warns him off. What's the giant's name?
Sir Elephant.
Yeah. In the Man of Law's tale, after the Sultan of Syria and his court are massacred, his Christian bride, Constance, is set adrift in a rudderless boat. In which English county does the boat eventually run ashore?
Northumberland.
Yep. The Friar's Tale is about a summoner who plans to use a fake charge to extort money from a widow. What sum of money does he ask her for?
12 pence.
Yes. What title is usually given to the final part of the Canterbury Tales, which begins with the line, Here taketh the maker of this book his leave?
Chaucer's Retraction.
Is correct. No passes. You have scored, Margaret, 12 points.
Thank you.
And our final contender, please. And your name is?
Stephen Connor,
Your occupation?
HR manager,
And your chosen subject?
the Liverpool music scene of the 1970s and 80s.
In 2 minutes, starting now, what boy's name was given to the basement music venue opened in October 1976 in Matthew Street in Liverpool by Roger Eagle and his partners Ken Testy and Peter Fulwell?
Eric's.
Yep. Which group formed in Liverpool in 1978 took its name from a caption in the Daredevil comic strip published by Marvel Comics?
The Teardrop Explodes.
Yep. A 1981 UK hit single for the Teardrop Explodes begins with the line, "Bless my cotton socks, I'm in the news." What's the title of the song?
Reward.
Yep. Which future member of the KLF co-founded the band Big in Japan and acted as the manager of various Liverpool bands such as Echo and the Bunnymen?
Bill Drummond.
Yep. Bill Drummond and David Balfe established a record label in 1979 which signed Echo and the Bunnymen as well as lesser-known groups such as the Wild Swans and Laurie and the Chameleons. What was the name of the label?
Zoo.
Yep. What was the name of the musical instrument shop in Stanley Street, Liverpool, which supplied many local musicians?
Hessies.
Yep. What soul group, whose members include the brothers Chris and Eddie Amu, had hit singles in 1976 entitled "You to Me Are Everything" and "Can't Get By Without You"?
The Real Thing.
Yep. What was the name of the Liverpool boxing venue where Roger Eagle promoted gigs before he moved to Eric's to put on shows in 1976? It was demolished in the 1980s.
Liverpool Stadium.
Yep. Jamie Farrell formed a group in 1980 which consisted mainly of former staff members at the club Eric's. What was the name of the band?
Ellery Bop.
Yep. Colin Verncombe had 2 UK top 10 singles in 1987 with the group Black. One was Sweetest Smile. What was the title of the other, which peaked at number 8 in September of that year?
It's a Wonderful Life.
Yep. Before he joined Frankie Goes to Hollywood, Paul Rutherford was the lead singer of a Liverpool punk group whose members also include Pete Clark, known as Budgie, and Pete Griffiths. They released a single entitled British Refugee. What was the name of the group?
The Spitfire Boys.
Yep, after they were rejected by the Sue label, Orchestral Manoeuvres in the Dark were signed by a different label, a subsidiary of Virgin Records, who released the duo's early records, including the 1980 album Organisation. What was the name of the label?
Din Disc.
Din Disc is correct. Not a single one wrong, no passes. You have 12 points. Well, a couple of seriously high scores there. Let's have a look at all of the scores. In 4th place, with 4 points, Matthew. In 3rd place, with 9 points, Anna. Joint 1st place with 12 points apiece, Marga and Stephen. And it is the general knowledge round now, and if there's a tie at the end of it, then the number of passes is taken into account, and the person with the fewer passes is the winner. And if they're tied on passes as well, there has to be a tie break. So let's ask Matthew to join us again, please. And you've got a bit of catching up to do, but you've got two and a half minutes in which to do it. Here we go. What term from the Latin for falling off describes a tree that sheds its leaves every year at the end of the growing season?
Deciduous.
Yeah. In a landmark speech in June 1963, which world leader famously said, "As a free man, I take pride in the words, Ich bin ein Berliner"?
Dunno.
The tax levied in the UK on profits made from the sale of assets that have increased in value has a name that's often abbreviated to the initials CGT. What's the name of the tax?
Capital gains tax.
Yes. Which international trophy is made from melted down rupee coins from the remaining funds of an Indian rugby club that closed down in 1878?
Calcutta Cup.
Yes. In March 1994, the first 32 women were ordained as priests within the Church of England. In which city's cathedral was the ceremony held?
York.
Bristol. Cagliari is the main port and most populous city on which Italian island?
Sardinia.
Yeah. A famous Soho jazz club, which opened on Gerrard Street in 1959 and 6 years later moved to nearby Frith Street, was established by Pete King and a fellow saxophonist after whom the club is named. What was his name?
Pass.
Which 1982 play by Michael Frayn opens with the housekeeper, Mrs. Clackett, saying, "It's no good you going on. I can't open sardines and answer the phone"?
Pass.
Which Irish actress wrote and starred in the sitcom Pulling, as well as Catastrophe, which she created with her co-star Rob Delaney?
Pass.
Which imperial unit of distance, still commonly used in horse racing, is equal to 1/8 of a mile?
Furlong.
Yeah. The English translation of a 1942 novel by Albert Camus opens with the line, "Mother died today, or maybe yesterday, I can't be sure." Which novel?
Pass.
The instrumental tune Foggy Mountain Breakdown by Lester Flatt and Earl Scruggs introduced bluegrass music to a wider audience when it was used on the soundtrack of a 1967 gangster film. What film?
Pass.
What's the name of the ornately illustrated manuscript of the four Gospels that dates from the 8th or 9th century and is on permanent display at Trinity College, Dublin? It's named after a monastery in County Meath.
Book of Kells.
Yes. Which village near Woking in southern England is home to the flagship garden of the Royal Horticultural Society? The site was acquired in 1903 and houses a laboratory for research and training.
Q.
Wisley. What term for a gold-coloured alloy of copper, zinc and sometimes tin that's often used to decorate furniture and clocks comes from the French for ground gold?
Brass.
Ormolu. The Department for Culture, Media and Sport was renamed in 2017 to reflect the increasing use of electronic devices and means of communication. But it kept the same initials, DCMS. What does the letter D stand for in the new name?
Digital.
Correct. You had 6 passes altogether. Matthew, Bonnie and Clyde was that 1967 gangster film. The Stranger was the title of that Camus novel. Sharon Horgan was the Irish actress who wrote Pulling, etc. Noise is Off was the Michael Frayn play. Ronnie Scott set up a remarkable jazz club. And John F. Kennedy said, Ich bin ein Berliner. Yeah, you have a total now of 11 points. And next up, Anna, again, please. And Anna, you start out with 9 points. Let's see how you do with your general knowledge. Here we go. In 2019, the actress Sue Nichols won a Soap Award for Outstanding Achievement after 40 years of playing the character Audrey Roberts in which television programme?
Coronation Street.
Yep. Which German city hosted the 1972 Summer Olympics?
Munich.
Yep. The punk musician and member of the Sex Pistols, who was born John Simon Ritchie, once said, you just pick a chord, go twang, and you've got music. By what stage name was he better known?
Johnny Rotten.
Sid Vicious. A simple board game in which players move their counters according to the scores on dice, has a name that translates from Latin as I play. What board game?
Monopoly.
Ludo. What protein found extensively in connective tissue is the most abundant protein in the human body?
Pass.
Which English romantic poet was the 6th holder of the baronetcy that was first bestowed on his ancestor John in 1643 for services to the crown in the Civil War?
Byron.
Yes, a stage adaptation of a 1980 film that stars Dolly Parton, Jane Fonda and Lily Tomlin opened in the West End in 2019. What's its title?
9 to 5.
Yep. The word kesh refers to the uncut hair that's worn as one of the 5 distinguishing features of followers of which religion?
Islam.
Sikhism. Which Italian mathematician born around 1170 is credited with introducing the Hindu-Arabic numeral system to Europe? A well-known number sequence is named after him.
Fibonacci.
Yes, a type of pottery characterized by a white glaze and blue decoration is named after its city of origin in the Netherlands between Rotterdam and The Hague. Which city?
Antwerp.
Delft. Which British inventor who died in 2018 was inspired to develop his wind-up radio after he saw a television documentary about the spread of AIDS in Africa? It suggested that educational radio programs could prevent the spread of the disease.
Pass.
Which coastal town, a few miles north of Blackpool, stands at the mouth of the River Wyre and was once an important fishing port? It was named after a local MP in 1836.
Lytham.
Fleetwood. The stage musicals Oliver and Mamma Mia both feature a punctuation mark in their title. What punctuation mark?
Exclamation mark.
Yep. The official currency of Liechtenstein was adopted in the early 1920s and is the same as that of a neighbouring country. Which country?
Holland.
Switzerland. Which species of shark, known for swimming with its mouth wide open, is the largest fish to visit British waters?
Hammerhead.
The basking shark. What musical direction that means in a slow or broad manner has come to be applied to works played in that fashion? One of the best known is an aria by Handel composed for the opera Xerxes.
Largo.
Is correct. You have 2 passes. Trevor Bayliss was the inventor of the wind-up radio, and that protein that's found extensively in our connective tissue is collagen. You have a total, Anna, of 16 points. And now Marga again, please. And you start out, Marga, with 12 points. The immediate score to beat is 16, as you have just heard. Here we go. A series of conventions to protect the wounded or captured during times of war, first developed in 1864 and significantly updated in 1949, were named after which Swiss city?
Geneva.
Yep. What's the name of the battery-operated board game in which players must use tweezers to remove various objects from the body of a patient named Cavity Sam?
Doctor.
Operation, a French term used in English to describe expensive fashionable clothes and their designers, translates as high dressmaking. What term?
Haute couture.
Yes. Which English landscape gardener designed the grounds of Blenheim Palace and Kew Gardens in the 18th century?
Capability Brown.
Yep. Which bird of prey was extinct in Britain by 1916 but began to nest at Lochgarten on Speyside in the 1950s, since when its numbers in Scotland have increased? It's sometimes known as the fish hawk.
Golden Eagle.
Osprey. What Christian organisation founded in the 19th century has the motto Blood and Fire?
Salvation Army.
Yep. The American rapper Marshall Bruce Mathers III made his acting debut in the 2002 film 8 Mile and won an Academy Award for his song Lose Yourself. He's best known by what stage name?
Eminem.
Yep. Which American golfer won his first major tournament when he finished 3 strokes ahead of the defending champion Brooks Koepka at the 2019 US Open?
Jordan Spate.
No, Gary Woodland. Manzanilla and Oloroso are varieties of a fortified wine originally produced in Jerez in southern Spain. What's the English name of the drink?
Sherry.
Yep. Which Austrian composer's last 12 symphonies, written in the 1790s, are known as the London Symphonies because he was brought to the capital by a famous impresario who lived there?
Haydn.
Yes. Which American vehicle manufacturer was founded in 2003 with the aim of producing an electric sports car? The entrepreneur, Elon Musk, was an early investor, went on to serve as the chairman and the CEO of the company.
Tesla.
Yeah. The original score for the film There Will Be Blood was composed by the lead guitarist in the band Radiohead. What's his name?
Tom York.
Johnny Greenwood. Which British city's circular underground railway was opened in 1896 and is nicknamed the Clockwork Orange?
Manchester.
Glasgow. The name of a peak on the Isle of Man comes from the Norse for snow mountain. Which peak?
Fullevulu.
Snaefell. What reference work, first published in London in 1849, is an annual biographical dictionary of distinguished men and women. Inclusion is considered a sign of prominence in public life.
Who's who?
Yep. Which dramatist, whose work at the time scandalised audiences, had his breakthrough in 1964 when the BBC Third programme broadcast his play The Ruffian on the Stair?
Tom Stoppard.
Could have been Joe Orton.
Okay.
If you had no passes there, you now have a total of 21 points. And finally, Stephen again, please. And Stephen, you also start out with 12 points. 21 is the score to beat if you are to get through to the grand final. Here we go. In 1773, a group of protesters boarded ships in Boston Harbor and threw their cargo overboard in objection to British taxes. The protest became known by what name?
Pass.
What was the alternative name for the Irish pound, which was withdrawn from circulation after Ireland joined the Eurozone?
The punt.
Yep. Rachmaninoff's Piano Concerto No. 2 features prominently in a 1945 romantic film starring Celia Johnson and Trevor Howard. What film?
Brief encounter.
Yeah. What geological term from the Latin word for fire describes a type of rock such as granite, basalt or pumice?
Fuego.
Igneous. Which London arts and theatre complex opened in 1982 is named after a fortification on the old city walls?
The ICA.
The Barbican. Certain high-speed trains use a technology known as maglev, which allows them to glide above a track without contact. The term maglev is a contraction of what 2 words?
Magnetic levitation.
Yep. A popular toy that consists of just a flexible spiral spring was invented accidentally by a marine engineer whose aim was to devise a spring to hold shipboard equipment steady. What is the toy's proprietary name?
Slinky.
Yeah, the graffiti artist Banksy directed a 2010 documentary about street artists. Its title was Exit Through the... what?
Gift shop.
Yeah. What was the name of the American businessman who received more than 19 million votes when he ran as an independent candidate in the 1992 US presidential election? He ran again in 96 and died in 2019.
Pass.
Which desert covers much of Botswana as well as parts of Namibia and South Africa?
The Kalahari.
Yep. Which play written by Ben Jonson and first performed at London's Globe Theatre in 1606 is set in Venice and has an Italian title that's often translated as The Fox?
La Renard.
Volpone. What natural foodstuff used as a sweetener has a variety produced in New Zealand and Australia that's made from the nectar of the manuka bush?
Honey.
Yes. The 2002 film The Bourne Identity, which stars Matt Damon as a secret agent who's lost his memory, is based on a book by an American author of spy novels. Which author?
John Grisham.
Robert Ludlum. What's the word for a heavy substance that can be loaded into the hold of a ship to make it more stable or carried in a hot air balloon to be jettisoned to gain height?
Ballast.
Yep. The Jones Act of 1917 granted American citizenship to everyone born on a Caribbean island that's now an unincorporated U.S. territory. Which island?
Haiti.
Puerto Rico. What Italian word for a tale is used in English as a term for a section of music added on to the end of a piece to provide a conclusion? It's also sometimes used in film to mean an epilogue.
Coda.
Is correct. You had 2 passes. Ross Perot was the chap who kept trying to be American president, and the Boston Tea Party happened in 1773. You've scored, Stephen, 21 points. Well, how close was that? Let's have a look at the final scores. In 4th place with 11 points, Matthew. In 3rd place with 16 points, Anna. In 2nd place with 21 points and 2 passes, Stephen. In 1st place with 21 points and no passes, Marga. Which means that Marga goes through to the grand final. Congratulations to her. And if you would like to be a contender in the next series, do go to our website, bbc.co.uk/mastermind, and you can follow us at Mastermind Quiz. Do join us again next time for more Masterminds, and thank you for watching. Goodbye.
When I won the heat, I won because I didn't pass. And the same happened this time. My husband is already saying that I'm going to win. I'm not saying that I will. He's very confident. He's also confident that I'm going to win £1 million. I keep telling him it's a different quiz. When I was young and pretty, I took part in the Dutch version of Mastermind, and I got as far as the semi-final. It would be the first time a Dutch person won Mastermind, which would be quite something. And my only worry is I wouldn't know where to put that lovely crystal bowl. I've got 3 cats, where do I put it? But, you know, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it.